Zhang Shuo staggered unsteadily alone on the national highway today was the so-called marriage of his first love, although called first love in reality. It was a woman he didn't even dare to look directly at, a very enchanting woman from the first day he saw her in junior high school. He thought he had fallen in love for all these years through junior high and high school. Zhang Shuo closely followed the schools she attended eventually. Zhang Shuo failed to enter university, although the girl attended an average school. At least she went to college. After several years apart, Zhang Shuo received this wedding invitation sent by the groom himself. This groom was also his high school classmate. His marriage was sudden, if Zhang Shuo remembered correctly. During the New Year's gathering earlier, this classmate didn't have a partner, yet suddenly he received the invitation. Zhang Shuo froze for a moment when he opened the invitation and saw the bride's name inside. His heart skipped a beat. After confirming via phone call, Zhang Shuo felt a deep sense of loss he couldn't understand. When did these two become entangled initially? Zhang Shuo thought of just sending a gift, not wanting to attend to avoid embarrassment, but he knew in his heart the only one who would be embarrassed was himself. Yet in the end, he couldn't resist attending the night before the wedding. Many classmates gathered at the groom's home. Zhang Shuo saw the bride in the wedding photos, that face he had secretly loved for so many years, feeling depressed. He drank himself into a stupor, greeted his classmates, and walked out. A cool breeze blew. Zhang Shuo shivered. He had come by a classmate's car. Now leaving early meant walking home alone. He didn't want to go back, didn't want to enter that house again. He felt wronged in his heart. Thus he walked alone against the dry spring wind. Before he knew it, he had walked far along the national highway. Eventually, he only remembered collapse beside a huge tree, vomiting for a long time. After vomiting, he slumped down, not knowing how long he lay there. Zhang Shuo heard a voice calling him. The voice was ethereal. Zhang Shuo. He struggled to get up. This place was unfamiliar, like a village. He lay under a big tree at the crossroads. He staggered to his feet. Just then, the voice called again. Zhang Shuo. He saw in the distance a woman in a traditional red wedding dress. He recognized her instantly. Was the woman he had loved secretly for years. Zhang Shuo rubbed his eyes, groggily glanced around at the surroundings. After seeing clearly, he realized how familiar this place was. He had come here countless times secretly just to catch a glimpse of her. He followed the voice towards her. The woman stood waiting for him to approach. She smiled gently as he approached. Before he could ask anything, the woman pressed a finger to his lips, took his hand, and led him forward. Zhang Shuo allowed numbly, his mind blank. He didn't know how he got here, or how she knew he was here, being led by the woman he loved. He stopped thinking. Soon, they arrived at a small courtyard. The gate was decorated with large wedding characters. Inside was bustling. Zhang Shuo was led into the courtyard. A crowd surrounded him, changing his clothes, shoes, and hat. Soon Zhang Shuo was dressed in a traditional red groom's outfit with a bright red flower on his chest. He was guided by an old woman into the main hall. The room was small inside. A scroll and wedding couplets hung on the wall. Opposite the entrance, below the wall, stood an octagonal table covered in red cloth. Two grandmaster chairs sat on either side. On the table was a spirit tablet covered in red silk. In front of the tablet was a dew measure filled with grains stuck with white branches tied with copper coins, resembling a money tree. The dew contained a scale with a bronze mirror hanging from it, along with plates of offerings, red dates, peanuts, and other items. Just then, Zhang Shuo heard indistinctly, "The bride has arrived." The woman in red, who had called him earlier, now wore a red veil. Led into the hall, Zhang Shuo's head grew heavier. He only vaguely remembered someone getting married, but couldn't recall who. Seeing his red attire and the bride's hand in his, he truly believed it was his wedding. He held the woman's hand, slowly walked to the center of the hall, following Chinese letter S voice. They bowed, first bow to heaven and earth, second bow to ancestors, third bow to each other. As he bent down, a sharp pain stabbed his leg, jolting him awake. At that moment, he saw the woman he was bowing to had no legs. She floated before him, Looking up suddenly, the bride's wedding attire was gone, revealed rotting red clothes exposing moldy flesh, oozing putrid black liquid. Yet the red veil remained on her head, the surroundings transformed completely. A dilapidated house with a collapsing roof, crumbling walls. On the broken table under the main wall lay desiccated offerings, infested with rats and maggots. The only light came from 2 white candles with eerie pale green flames. All this happened in an instant. Zhang Shuo sobered up, completely terrified. He tried to stand up, but the old woman behind him held him down. He turned abruptly, saw a decaying creature with blackened flesh, dressed in tattered cloth, stretching its cyan black and pressing on his neck, following the Chinese letter, S commands: first bow, second bow, third bow. Ceremony complete, the creature released him. Zhang Shuo couldn't take it anymore. He screamed and tried to flee before moving. A cold wind blew out the candles. Total darkness descended. He tripped over something, fell to the ground. A faint green light floated towards him, revealing a woman with a long red tongue, her face decomposed into sludge with squirmy maggots. She laughed eerily. Husband time for our Chinese letter. Zhang Shuo looked at her face, and the green flame dancing on her finger blacked out. When he woke again, still pitch black. He tried to sit up, banged his head hard, fell back down. His hand touched something icy, realizing what it was but refusing to believe. Feeling around, he froze. He was inside a coffin. Just then a light appeared, but instead of reassuring him, it intensified his fear. The light was pale green. He turned slowly, saw the long-tongued woman staring at him, whispering, "Are you awake, husband?" Zhang Shuo died. His body was found in a remote mass grave far from the highway. No visible injuries. His face contorted in horror, as if seeing something terrifying lying on an unmarked grave. 7 days later, Wang Wei stood at his window, looking down the street, noticing a hearse passing by every night. Recently, not unusual in itself, but this started after attending his best friend Zhang Shuo's funeral. At first he ignored it, but the hearse appeared every night. When he stood at the window, as if meant for him to see, tonight was the 7th day since Zhang Shuo's death. He felt the hearse was connected to him, so he waited early at the window. But the hearse didn't come. Almost midnight, despite his fear, Wang Wei kept watching. Just as he thought it wouldn't come, he saw the hearse approaching slowly. Different from usual, the front was decorated with mourning symbols. A large photo hung in the center. The hearse glided silently like a ghost as it neared. Wang Wei recognized the photo. It was Zhang Shuo. Zhang Shuo had already been buried. Wang Wei watched the photo. Just as the hearse passed out of sight, the photo's Zhang Shuo smiled at him. Wang Wei froze, quickly closed the curtains. At that moment, knocking sounded at the door. A familiar voice, cold and eerie. Wang Wei opened the door. "It's me, Zhang Shuo, and so ends today's tale of the ghost bride."